This is Tractor Tuesday Live, hosted by 6th generation Nebraska farmer and Tractor Tuesday founder, Zach Bosley. Join us each week as he sits down with farmers, innovators, dealers, and creators who are enhancing the culture within agriculture. Right here on Tractor Tuesday Live.
Hey, Zach Bosley. I'm here today. We're actually live. It's not Tuesday, though, so it's maybe throwing off our 5 listeners and maybe my mom and my dad. But here with me today is Cody White. Interesting story. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit, Cody, and let everybody know if they're not familiar with you, your background's really unique for someone that ended up in agriculture. You had a lot of stops along the way. So if you don't mind, Cody, just introduce yourself to everybody out there watching.
Yeah, I'm Cody White. Down here, home base, home farms in Maroa, Illinois, which would be about 30 minutes just north of Decatur, which Farm Progress Show, it should ring a bell for most people probably tuning in. So
yeah. No, thanks again for coming on. We've got some awesome guests. I guess this is kind of the start of our season 2, if you will. And I was just telling you off air a little bit. We won't announce it publicly yet, maybe until after the show, but we've got some huge guests lined up for the fall. So we're excited to bring you in and talk a little bit about it. We're so big with what we do with NIL and then our Farm Athletes nonprofit, and had a kid that was participating at Illinois State as well, Micah Barnhart. We found him. He may have been at Wyoming originally, and you know the way the transfer situation's going.
yeah.
So it's a big part of what is going on. And then learned about you, and one of my guys reached out and said, "Yeah, I guess I'll do the show." So, you know, from an early life, Cody's growing up is a little bit different. You didn't grow up into agriculture necessarily the same way I did. You know, farrowing sows and mom and dad are, you know, doing farm games all day. I guess tell us a little bit about your early life and, you know, a little bit more there.
Yeah, so my background's a little bit more unique than what you hear in this industry, in this field. I did not grow up on a farm, really was not involved in a farming operation until I was about into college. I was out of college. So I was originally born in Columbus, Ohio. My father was actually helping a family friend on a farm there. Really no future into that. Dad took a job with State Farm. We bounced around from Ohio to Indiana to Pennsylvania to Illinois, Colorado to Arizona, then landed back here in Illinois, which is in Bloomington, Normal, which is about 40 minutes north of where I live now. So kind of ended up back there in the 4th grade. You know, so I've been, you know, lived in the Midwest a little bit, been here in Central Illinois since I was in 4th grade, got to see farming, see agriculture, was always interested in it. I was sports. That's what I did growing up. Never got to go help, you know, didn't have the time for that. You know, there was maybe a couple times we helped buck hay, but that was it. And, you know, once I dove into it was when I got to college. I went to Illinois State and played football there after high school. And then, you know, what do you get, about a year and a half, 2 years in, you get your gen eds out of the way and they're like, all right, you got to study something. Well, I knew a lot of people involved in agriculture more than just farming, right? Like there were so many avenues I'd come to find out that are here in Central Illinois. So I always knew I couldn't work in an office. I just wasn't going to be it for me. So I figured there was a lot of boots on the ground type opportunities in agriculture. Just met my wife, Mallory, and she actually played volleyball at Illinois State too.
Okay.
Met her, started studying agriculture, and then, you know, got done. And I was lucky enough to be undrafted and go play a handful of years in the NFL with the Houston Texans. And then once all that was done, you know, Mallory and I were married in that time. And then she's actually one of 3 daughters. So her father had really no one to pass the farm on to or anyone helping. So really just one thing led to another. And then that's, long story short, that's kind of how I'm here today, is just kept going down that path.
No, it's awesome. And I hear a lot of the younger farm kids around me repeat this, and I've been saying this for years, but something my grandpa told me is, you know, there's 2 ways to be a large farmer. you can either inherit it or, you can marry into it. I'm sure people rub that in your face too, but
yeah, they do. And like, it really wasn't even the plan. It just kind of so focused on football and all that stuff. And, they always tell you to have a backup. Football is going to be done with you one day, but the way some of us are wired, I did things in the background to make sure that we'll be okay. But you don't think that way. You think that you're going to play football forever and you're not going to do that. So really, it just kind of just one thing kept leading to another. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So, assuming Mallory played volleyball, then she's probably pretty tall.
Yeah, she's 6'1", so yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, how tall do you think your daughters are going to be? I know you got two girls.
Well, they just had they just had their annual doctor's appointments or whatever. I think my 10-year-old daughter's 5'4" right now. So
oh my goodness.
My son was 4'9" at 8, and then I can't remember my youngest was, but she was pretty similar to what they were. So. Yeah. I don't know. The doctors use some sort of thing, and they think, our oldest daughter will be 6'2" or whatever, and then my son will probably be close to me and all that. So yes, they are head and shoulders taller than all their classmates right now.
Well, was that how it was for you growing up? Were you always just kind of a giant in grade school? And yeah, I
really was. Yeah, they're spitting images of what it was like for me. Just taking class photos, and you're head and shoulders taller than everybody, just bigger. Yeah, that's how it was. I was pretty much always, I looked 2 years older than I actually was. Pretty much my whole life there.
And everybody wants to be tall, but they're completely off the mark. They don't understand how good a nice 5'9" to 6 foot guy's got it made, man. It's just, I wear size 15s, and half the time I got to take the insoles out of a 15 to even cram my foot in the damn things. And if I really want to look cute, I got to find some 14s and stretch them. And
half the time they would even sell them in 15s.
That's the problem, man.
That big and a lot of the nice stuff.
Got a lot of big guy problems over here, and at least my wife, I think she's about 5'7", 5'8", so she's not too tall, but it's scary because we don't go to the doctor, but when we have, like, holy cow, your kids are off the charts, and it scares my wife. She's afraid that our girls will be too tall, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but
they'll be all right.
Yeah, well, no, it's just it's crazy that a lot of guys that I know here locally in Nebraska and in college as well, if they made it as an onside free agent, most dudes I know, or even if they were drafted, they bounce around between at least two teams. It's pretty cool. You got to have that run at Houston and just stick strictly with those guys. So, because did you make it 4 or 5? I don't even remember.
Yeah, 4 years. I got 4. I blew out my Achilles tendon that kind of did me in. It was a real bummer. It was my third year. Third year, I'd actually worked my way up. I was starting, opened up camp with the ones, and then ended up tearing my Achilles, and that's a whole year-long process. And then after that, it just takes too much time, and new crop of guys coming in every year. But it was really nice to have that comfort in one organization. I did shop around a little bit before I signed back with them. What ended up being my last year. But it just, the comfort, it's nice. Because usually, I know that's not normal. And there's a lot of people that bounce around a lot, maybe just during one season too. You can end up with a couple of teams in one season. So it was nice to be able to call Houston home for a while and kind of be settled in.
Yeah. Well, hey, just wanted to kind of pivot from all that, because then, like you said, you married into a situation, you were able to get into agriculture. And I guess, was the learning curve very steep for you, or was your father-in-law kind of able to wean you into the whole situation?
Yeah, so I got back. I would say yes, it was. It would be steep. I got back, and started just helping out, and then I actually started working with Ken Ferry and Crop Tech here up in Hayworth. It's not too far from us. And got to pick up. He runs a crop consulting company here in the area. You guys could probably see him on Farm Journal a lot too.
Yeah.
And so I was able actually to really smash a lot of knowledge in pretty quickly with them, and helping out with the research and the soil testing, and start to get, I had done the schooling, but that's one thing. And then I'd been out of it. I had not talked about agriculture. I've not stayed up to date, nothing
Mhm.
for almost probably 5 years by that time.
Mhm.
So I tried to cram a lot and learned a lot from them. I was very fortunate to get a job with them because really I was interviewing, but I mean, even just what I had just come off from doing and accomplishing, and that 1% of the people do,
Yeah.
um, because I didn't have a bunch of background and work history, no one was hiring me, and that
No.
was actually a real weird situation and difficult thing
Yeah.
for me to handle. But it all worked out, the way it was supposed to. They gave me a shot. I was really appreciative of that. I still work with them a little bit on some stuff on the phone. So crammed a lot of knowledge in there.
Yeah.
Started helping on the farm, became part time on the farm, then full
Okay.
time, and then bought it. Still
Mhm.
in the process of transition.
Yeah.
Is kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, my father-in-law, he's done a really good job. He was really well respected around here,
Mhm.
and he's done a good job of teaching me. But yeah, I've
Yeah.
had to accelerate my learning process, and really, I can, I football and farming correlate a lot for me, and being able to pick up game plans and learn and
Yeah.
study and perfect your craft. That's what I
Right.
had to do in a very short amount of time to be successful.
Yeah.
And been able to do that with ag, and obviously still learning as we
Yeah,
go.
for sure. Well, and especially getting more of an agronomy type of
Yeah.
skill set or knowledge base first is really interesting because the average farm kid like me, you don't necessarily have that, and it's like, well, God, I think they might call that Canadian thistle, but we're going to call it something else, and so you don't necessarily
Yeah.
know things by the book, you know it by what it used to be called. And, for me, I was gone for 13 years before I came back to the farm. A lot changed from the year 2000 to
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
And so just because, you got these stories and these ideas of trying to eyeball the row and all these things, I probably never really did either. You get jump in the seat. You just got to get the confidence, and it's
Yeah.
just like probably in a football game, the first 5 seconds or so right before the very first snap, you're probably about ready to have a heart attack,
Yeah.
and the next thing you know, you kind of wake up, it's halftime. Hey kid, what are my stats?
Yeah.
Because you get in automatic mode once you get that comfort. And
Yeah.
really the putting the iron in the ground is kind of the easiest part of agriculture, or at least for
No,
me
that's
as
the
a farmer,
easiest. Yeah. That
because
is the easiest
it's
part.
the most enjoying thing there is. It's just
Yeah.
there's something. Yeah, it's fun when I get city guys to help me out with harvest if they run truck or something.
Hmm.
They love just seeing the progress.
Yeah.
And they see the field get picked when we're doing corn or something, or they see us cutting beans, and they're like, God, it's just something so gratifying about watching you guys progress through a field, and
Mhm.
it's interesting because you kind of lose sight of some of the little things and some of the visual cues and everything that you do in a day-to-day operation. But I saw a few pictures, I think, online. It looks like you guys are mostly green paint over in your
Yeah.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been running green stuff. My father-in-law, they've been green as long as I can remember for them. His dad and his grandpa. So it's been green here for a while. That's
Yeah.
kind of where we've stayed. We've shopped around a little bit, but we haven't swayed from the green paint.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many upgrades now, and it's such a different game. It's so much more high tech, and we really stress that, yeah, we displace certain industries or certain aspects of this industry, but we really need our dealership partners and friends, because I can't even work on a 70 series deer combine. How the heck could I ever work on an S7? And
Yeah.
without their technicians, we're lucky to have them. And both John Deere, Case, Agco, they all have great access to some great tools and everything else. But more so with the operation, then you're kind of getting weaned into it. Is your wife helping out at all with the farm, or?
She helps run us around in the fall.
Yeah.
Helps bring out meals, helps bring out some
Hmm.
treats for the guys and all that stuff. But really,
Yeah.
some logistical things that are super important to really keep us moving
Oh, for
throughout
sure.
the day efficiently.
Yeah.
Parts runs, things like that. Once so our youngest will be going to kindergarten this fall, and
Okay.
once she does that, I'm hoping to maybe get her in the auger wagon a little bit and
Okay.
get her up to speed.
Yeah.
So just for emergency backup,
Well, just
calling
let
the
her
closer.
let her to see how you're suffering, and
Yeah,
I love how you say
yeah,
auger wagon. That's usually how I judge farmers. When you get into Iowa, it's all grain cart country. In Nebraska,
yeah,
we're definitely an auger wagon state. So there's There's two ways to say it, I guess. But, most importantly, she's got that job at home with the kids and, raising the giants. So, I mean, that's the most important thing going. So that's great.
Yeah, running back to school, all their sports stuff. She handles all that while I'm stuck out there all fall. But yeah, once all the kids are in school full time, I'll get her out there a little bit and get her introduced.
Well, and something else I wanted to talk about, my guy Kyle mentioned, he's like, man, Cody's absolutely in phenomenal shape. You look like now you could have been like a tight end or maybe an outside linebacker, but from the peak of your physique and everything at Houston, how's your body changed, and what was the evolution of the mindset to even start that whole change?
Yeah, so really, I went to play collegiate football as a tight end. So I actually played my first 3 years as a tight end collegiately, kept getting bigger and stronger in the weight room. Yeah. My head coach had transitioned a lot of tight ends to tackles, offensive tackles.
Yeah.
And those guys had great success in playing at the next level. And actually, you see a lot of that. I mean, if you ask 90% of the offensive tackles in the NFL, they probably played tight end collegiately.
Yeah.
So I decided I heeded his advice and took it and made the move my junior year into tackle. So I ended up. I went from playing tight end at about 255, 260. And then ended up playing tackle at about 305.
Wow.
So I played most of my professional career. I honestly liked being like 307. I mean, that's how specific we were. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Once I started to get to 310, I just felt like a tick slower. So I was like 305 to 307 is what I played at there professionally. And then really it's been a whole, this has been how many years? So this will be year 11 I've been done. I mean, it's been almost an 11-year process. I had shed some of that weight off and then, got at a spot and then was kind of comfortable with that and been back and forth. And really it's been a whole correction of eating and the way you train. It's just the football thing's so different. And just the way you view food. And I was having to eat constantly to be, at 310.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole like rewiring process and rewiring that I don't have to go into the gym or the weight room and absolutely destroy myself. Like I can go in there and have a consistent schedule of, of minimal to medium effort, maybe one max day in there that you want. So, and then the process of getting away from taking care of your body and getting away from, these heavy football lifts and just understanding now, looking at longevity, quality of life, a whole rewiring thing that's happened over 11 years. And I'd been floating. I made a goal for myself by July 1. I just turned 38 that I wanted to be 250 because I hadn't been that. And since I basically went to college, was able to reach that goal. So I probably dropped, it was probably another 22 pounds. I was floating around 270 or so. Made that goal to get down there. Just feels better on the body. I got an Achilles that's repaired. I got a knee that's tore up. And been a goal of mine to get back to that 250 mark and kind of see where we go from there. But yeah, it's just football changes your brain and your mind on actual like civilian type life a little bit. Yeah. And it just takes a while to rewire. And I'm a big believer in like not being about it, not talking about it, and leading the way by example, and trying to do that for my kids and people I'm employing and as a sales guy, if I just always think if someone looks like they care and put together, like I'll probably listen to your opinion a little bit. So that's just a big part of kind of where I stand on my platform.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. And I'd love to get this guy on the show now that I think about it. But his name's Joel Makovica, and he was a fullback at Nebraska. And we were at a tailgate, and he looked at me and he sized me up and he goes, your heart doesn't care if you're 250 and jacked or you're 250 and fat. And when you look at his playing career, I think he was around 250, maybe like 6 foot at fullback. Yeah. Man, you see the guy now, he's like 180 and he looks like he's an Olympic sprinter or something. Yeah. Just super skinny. And weight's always been a battle for me. And
Oh yeah.
I graduated high school at like 222 roughly,
Yeah.
and showed up and a good weight for me was around 213. I don't necessarily have the build like you. You know, you look at a guy like you and any of my guys that I know that have made it, you know, especially to the level you guys did, you know, your wrists are huge. You probably have like a size 8 head or something crazy. I'm just guessing, but if I was going to scout and recruit, probably got a huge head, huge wrist, big bones, probably never been hurt until you went to the, you know, the highest level, you know, and that's just the way a lot of it is when you got a guy like me, you know, I'm 6'6", I can carry 250 looking all right. But in all reality, I might have wide shoulders, but I'm kind of dainty in places, you know, and you got to know your body type. But, you know, it's always a battle. So I think I'm on week 13 of doing 5 days a week in my gym at the house. It's a whole different strategy. We're not throwing hammer weights and doing things around like, you know, these short explosive movements and stuff. You know, it's more so with cables and just real nice and, you know, doing things. But my biggest problem is the diet. And I think that's what's been helping me a little bit. I think this morning I was down to 231. I'm about 18.9 on the body fat, but I've been able to actually put on some muscle here the past 3 months. But for you,
that's the important thing. Yeah.
Well, and you know, the cool thing is about your body, it doesn't forget, you know, and if a guy's full of shit and they said they used to be able to do something, if you could really do it and you can't do it again in 8 weeks, you're full of shit, you know? So as far as your diet, what do you find as a bigger man? What works best for you?
God, I've played with that a ton. I mean, I measure my macros and calories pretty tightly. I've actually gone away from it a little bit just to give myself a break here, but I've tried them all. I mean, but I've come to, I feel the best on a lower carb, higher protein diet.
Okay.
So, you know, so then my fats are a little bit higher too. I just feel better throughout the day. And really, when I dropped this last 22 pounds from, you know, whenever I did that in January to July, I actually moved like all my carbs just went to vegetables and fruits.
Nice.
So I got away from, refined stuff, and because I was eating white rice, which is like a basic, like that's like through football, everything you do, you know,
rice, protein.
and I got away from that too, and away from those, and I started to feel really good. So I've been a lower carb, higher fat than, you know, it's almost a pound of, or a gram of protein per pound, a body weight or body weight goal. So, and it's hard to get that. I mean, you got to supplement with shakes, a lot of lean beefs. But yeah, I mean, that is the hardest part, the entire diet, meal, you know, following. That's the part that will take you exactly where you want to go. If you can have that discipline, but believe me, it's not easy, you know, between baseball and softball with the kids and running and late. And I mean, things happen. It's just learning how to make healthy, conscious decisions, even in the midst of chaos.
For sure.
To plan ahead. So we bulk prep like a bunch of meat and stuff usually for the week. And that helps us get to our goals.
Well, and I never really got into the macro thing until about 4 or 5 years ago. And for me, it was almost the opposite. It was like the lower fat, you know, higher carb type of deal I reacted very positively to, but it's just hard to hit your protein goals. You know, when you're trying to go lean and low fat, it's almost impossible with all the chicken and turkey in the world. I think I'm up to about 2 1/4 beef. My guy just made me buy another quarter beef. I got so much red meat. It's unreal, you know, and half the time I can't do it. But what's cool is my guy just switched me over to, today was the first day of week 13. So basically I've got 2, in theory, low carb days. And then Wednesday is like a high carb. So it's kind of 2 on, you know, low, 1 high. And it's different. So my workout's usually at 4:30. But then for breakfast this morning, I got to have 3 full cups of fruit and then like a double scoop protein shake. So it's a different deal. I usually go from 2.5 cups of hash browns and all the eggs. And, you know, now, I got to do fruit and a protein shake. And I'm like, man, I'm starving when I go to the office. You know, but I think that's the whole point. You got to find something you can actually stick with. And
I think that's, I was talking with someone about that. I was talking to my brother-in-law about the whole process with this. I was like, I've gotten to the point more in my life where if I don't enjoy it, like I got so many other things going on in my life. Like I need to be able to enjoy this. And like, you're not going to enjoy everything. That's not possible.
No.
you have to find what fits for you that's going to be consistent, that you're going to stay consistent with. And it's not the same thing for everybody, you know? So I kind of told him that I was like, I'm at the point where I got to make sure I'm enjoying it and want to go do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm going to stick to it with everything else going on in life right now.
Well, it's pretty impressive because you just got to think of, 50 pounds, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot. My
well, I mean, think about it. Just go into a
Yeah.
gym and pick up one of the 25-pound weights. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to believe. I didn't feel terrible, but it was like, okay, I just lost another. You can pick that up and feel it.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily feel it across your whole body, right? But you grab that and you're like, wow, that was a significant amount of weight, to get off the wear and tear of your body. So,
well, carrying a 50-pound bag of seed, what that feels like. And it's just going up and down stairs and, your joints and everything else got to try to cushion the blow. And, I always like to talk with athletes about what works for them, because the majority of them will always say it's either macro or more balanced. Every now and again, some other guys will say, just some of this low carb or carnivore or ketogenic type of move, they can kind of sustain too. So again, there's 100 different ways you can play it. But back into the farm angle a little bit more here. So you got back in, you're running the operation, you're buying out, what you had to do there. I guess tell us a little bit about what you're doing with sales on the seed side.
Yeah, so I've been working with Whipple's hybrids. So I believe this is going to be I'll be going in my eighth or ninth selling season with them this fall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once again, I mean, I was very fortunate for them to take an opportunity on me early. I got here, we're in DeWitt County here in Illinois, and they kind of had a revolving door. They didn't really have somebody running the county. So as I was looking for something to do, I was working at Crop Tech, started selling the Whiffle seed and helping on the farm. It kind of helped just kind of fit into some of those slow time areas. Yeah. And, they were still, Whiffles has grown, very reputable brand now, strong brand. Most people know it, but they were still kind of on the up and up. So I kind of got on that train pretty good time. They just, we sell just seed corn. So there's no beans, no chemicals, no nothing.
Okay.
So all they do is directly deal with corn. They're based out of Geneseo, Atkinson, Geneseo, Illinois. They actually just built another plant there in Iowa 2 years ago. But I got on board with them as they were looking for someone in the county. I mean, as green as could be, I was very fortunate for Mike Earls, my DSM, now my regional guy, to take a shot on me, and been with them and have enjoyed. It's a family owned. I mean, they're on their third generation of family, so it's still a family owned company. Very close knit. Boots on the ground. I'll see what we talked about earlier. I got to go to a kickoff meeting in Iowa tomorrow, and I'll see all the ownership there and have open conversations, ask any questions. It's been a very, very good brand to represent and sell for.
Yeah. And my ignorance, I had no idea there were only corn and corn genetics, So do they have kind of a partner with any of the other companies when it comes to bean seed?
So no partnership with bean seed. I know they get approached all the time. I don't think that's on their short-term goals. I think they like where they sit, kind of that little niche of staying in the corn. So that's kind of what they're betting their future on here continually.
So with your guys' operation, what's your rotation, or what are your crops you guys are running with?
Yeah, we're just corn soybean rotation here. We're pretty much 50-50. Yeah. We don't do any corn on corn. We go we actually raise a good chunk of our soybean production is actually seed soybean production for we raise them for Asgrow, and we've done really Bear Crop Sciences is we got some brands that fall under that whole umbrella.
Man, we'd get along great. So you're an Extend Flex type of guy then.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we've been running. So, and we do some seed corn production actually for DeKalb. They have a plant here in Farmer City, which is just 30 minutes east of us. We got some farms that way. So we're in the seed production side plus the commercial side on corn and soybeans.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's there's a lot of Corteva or Pioneer in my area because of the seed production. There is a lot of DeKalb seed corn production too. I think their processing facility is probably in Kearney. But yeah, we've been basically 100% as grow DeKalb now. Got probably 10 years, and had really good luck. I think I'm anywhere from like a 2.7 to a 3.0 on my beans.
Yeah.
What's the maturity out in your parts?
Yeah, we actually did plant some 2.7s this year, but usually we're about 3.0s to 3.8s, usually 3.0 to 3.6.
Okay.
I do got some 3.8s they wanted to plant for seed, and we've done that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that window, that like 3.3, like a 3.2 to a 3.6 really seems to do like really strong through here.
Okay.
That's usually your real, depending on the weather, 3.8s can do pretty solid, and maybe they catch a rain later. But that 3.2 to that 3.6 window here, real common. Usually the best yielders.
See, I'm still a caveman. I don't do my beans first, so usually about May 5th, May 10th, I get my beans in, and half my neighbors are already like 3 inches out of the ground.
So I've been done for like 3 weeks by then.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's how everybody else is. But I think this year it's going to pay off, for me at least, because now we got this heat dome, and it's just, it's absolutely horrible. And I'm not even tasseled yet on my corn. So being about a week or two behind everybody, it might work out. You never know. That's the problem. Mother Nature will decide.
You don't. I mean, it's kind of when we've planted beans, it really wasn't even an option to go plant corn yet. So we've kind of just done that, because there was actually a couple of days this year I was like looking at the forecast, even though we were early, I was like, this is kind of corn planting weather, and that we had going, but we stayed on beans and got started on corn later. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just the beans have been pretty resilient for us here in this area. So we've been able to put them into cooler, if there's a cool stretch or wet weather coming, they've actually handled it really well. We have not seen any yield drag. They stopped, in April 5th planting and staying in the ground for 3 weeks, which is hard to believe, but
that works.
They've done well, and they've yielded well. So we're going to stay down that path.
Yeah. We probably have some serious acres to cover, and it's just you got to get going eventually. So why not get going? More so, talking about the farm situation. Do you guys have anything that bleeds into irrigated country there? Because
no,
you'll see some pivots. When I went to Farm Progress, I was surprised there was more irrigation than I thought there'd be. Kind of close to your neck of the woods, but
there's some east of us. There's some there around that Farmer City where that DeKalb plant is. They used to, because you used to not be able to grow without irrigation. So most of those contracts, you had to have irrigated corn acres to raise seed production, but they got away from that. So you see a few of them around this area, but pretty sparse, to be honest with you. You get west of us to the Peoria, that'd kind of be the next, it'd be a bigger town to the west. They got some sandy spots over there. South of there, and you'll see a little bit more irrigation, but really it's kind of few and far between. But you probably, if you track the Decatur for Progress show, you would see a few.
Well, and I flew into Fort Wayne a couple of years ago in Indiana, and I was kind of surprised, that part of Indiana, the Northwest Ohio, there was quite a bit of irrigation too. And, growing up in Nebraska, you think it's just us, and then there's a couple other, confusing things. When you're a farm kid and you're in the back of the field and that's your first memory, you think everybody in the entire world raises crops, until you actually go out into the big world and you're like, man, you're the oddball here. And hey, I got a question here from YouTube. It looks like it says, does Cody interact with other salesmen from sports backgrounds? So I guess, do you meet anybody else in ag in sales that have more of that athletic background like yourself?
Yeah, so I've got to know a few of them, and I even kind of diversify like outside of the ag side of it, and kind of try to pick up on bits and pieces from other people that's working in different fields. I would say the aggressive, the sports mindset that took me to where, you don't just, the mindset that was built to take me where I went professionally with football, I would say that has been a huge asset for me transitioning into sales. And anybody moving into that, to really start trying and build your mindset and your aggressive mindset and your mental toughness. And that's been a huge huge player for me to be able to really take this Whiffles thing where I have for them. But yeah, and then I try to do, so the NFL offers a lot of opportunities for ex-players too. So I've actually been on a few seminars with like sales and business owners and entrepreneurs, and they do a lot of good things of offering that. And then usually at the Super Bowl, they have a huge in-person thing where you can kind of network and do all that. So that's having that and using those to access a lot of different people, get to meet them, backgrounds, has been a good, I'm a huge advocate of, I've had this conversation with some people, like the kid getting away from the farm for a little while and getting their own perspective, having a different thought process than, well, this is what dad did. This is what grandpa did. So this is what we do. You know, is that stuff wrong? No, I don't think so. There's a reasons that, that great grandpa did it, and dad must be working good. But I think getting your own thoughts, having your own base, your own perspective is pretty important. When you come back, I think to have your own opinion and bring some valuable knowledge back.
Yeah. How hard was it mentally, especially going out with such a big injury? I mean, most guys blow their Achilles. It is a death sentence for sports. In most cases now things maybe are starting to progress, but was it hard for you to accept that, or were you kind of relieved?
No, it was one of the hardest things, and it was still probably one of the darkest times of my life. I mean, I'm not shy to talk about it, that it was absolutely miserable. So so basically all of a sudden you go from, being a part of the team, and then all of a sudden, in the NFL, you're on injured reserve. So now you're not able to attend meetings. You're not going to any of this stuff. Your job is basically rehab. You're in there at different times. You're not at practice. You don't see the guys. So it's a very lonely time, let alone with the pressure of the day-to-day competition and the feeling of getting behind, the unknown of how you're going to heal. Yeah. So it was, a very hard, challenging time that was extremely difficult, and learned a lot of lessons from that time on really how to handle setbacks and disappointments, and, reflecting on some of the things I didn't do great with that. One of the best things was they actually brought in like a sports psychiatrist. We were actually able to talk to them, and just to have an outlet, to talk to with the frustrations, of someone that wasn't, my wife was there, but they just, it's hard to project that stuff on them and for them to understand. But just a third party, that you were able to talk to was really important for me. But yes, it was an extremely hard, difficult, frustrating time at that level.
So how many months into the rehab or being under injured reserve did you kind of realize, hey, this is it? I'm never coming back?
Well, like we got back to the mindset thing of like, football's never going to end. Like, that never really popped into my head. Obviously you had your doubts of like, and then wanting to be back. So really I rehabbed, and then came back about 9 to 10 months later for OTAs and mini camps. And I would say that's when the doubt started to creep in a little bit. I remember sitting in one, I was still just not feeling fantastic. I was still in a lot of pain pain medicine, just not great. And just to be able to function day to day. But I remember sitting in the film room after one of those practices, and coaches getting on me. And it's a simple, I was playing guard and center. I think I was playing left guard on this play. And we got like a combo block with me in the center. So we're going to work off the nose and then go get the linebacker that's going to go play side.
Okay.
Something I could normally always do and get there fast enough, strong enough, quick enough. And that was the first time I was like, man, it's like I did not look explosive or fast. And, linebacker got over top of me and then tackled the running back. And I was like, oh man, because I knew I was not feeling great. And that's probably one of the first times. And I was still in a large amount of pain throughout that whole year. And eventually just, writing started to be on the wall, get called in, get cut, and move on. But so it was it was interesting.
Because for a big dude, 300 pounds, one of my guys is like, hey, he was sub 5 on his 40. Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I ran 4.9s. Yeah, I usually ran 4.9s there on the 40s. I think for the officials too, had 35-inch vertical.
Yeah, unreal.
Rep 225. I don't know what I get, like 36, 37 times. So,
jeez.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of explosion and power. And then watching that a lot of years and watch that kind of disappear was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the hardest thing. I call them displaced athletes, and you see them at Division I quite often. A kid might be a transfer kid, failed at one place, was given a second opportunity, failed again. I don't think people realize how much, you're around a lot of winning, a lot of driven people, but within that, how much failure is also, funneling out of these athletic departments. And so you witness it firsthand, these displaced athletes. It's kind of a rude awakening. Your whole, at least from, teenage years, all the way into your early 20s, everybody wants to be around you. Everybody's propping you up. You got a lot of yes men around you. And then all of a sudden that stops and you're not a part of anything anymore. I mean, you can see it. A lot of kids turn to drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. They need something, but they just don't know where to vent or where to turn to. And it can be a hard transition for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the harder things I've done in my life also, right? We touched on having a backup plan for when football was done, but sports and football had been what I had done, as a kid and then all the way through my, early adult years. And all of a sudden it's gone. It's over, right? It's over.
Yeah.
And as much as you don't just view yourself as a football player, you don't realize everything you do, from the way you ate, the way you train, the way you sleep, the way you recover, everything you're thinking about, your schedule for the week is going towards being the best football player I could be at that time.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now that's gone. Now the locker room camaraderie is gone. The guys, I don't have that outlet. I don't, it's like, what? I've been a football player and now I got to do this big pivot. And it's just like, where do I go? How do I do this? Interviewing for jobs I feel like I'm qualified for because I know what it took for me to reach this level of football. Right. They don't see it that way. Why is that? I don't know. Is what it is. But just had to scratch and claw. I mean, just to find, I didn't have a path. I didn't have some path written out. And as much as you want to try and plan and think, okay, I'm going to do this, get this goal, then we're going to go to this step. That's not, it's going to go like this, and you're going to come backwards a little bit, and then you're going to snake again. And I would just say anybody going through anything like that, just really just revert back to what, what got you to whichever level you were at, and have yourself a plan and just keep scratching and clawing and fighting for figuring out what you want to do. Because it is tough. That whole transition was extremely hard on figuring out who I was really, because I wasn't a football player anymore, right? Like who is Cody? What is Cody going to be? What's he going to stand for? In the civilian world. So
yeah, and it really shapes your own identity because really when you're early in college, even early in your professional career, you don't necessarily have that about yourself. You don't necessarily identify any type of way. You're around so many kids from all over the country. You don't really have a political belief system yet. You just kind of go with the flow. And most importantly, that dynamic, of what your family is at the time, is your team, and so you don't really have that experience yet to even really know what you stand on as a man.
Yeah.
And so you're touching on some really good points for our audience. And if anything, and I'm only half joking, but at least all of that failure, so to speak, or all that disappointment of going through an adverse time, getting hurt and then, basically being done with the league kind of gets you through the latest WASD or, whatever else is going on in ag. Because man, outside of this last one, we're on about a 4 or 5 day rally, but man, they've been kicking me in the teeth at the USDA here for about 3 years now.
It's been tough. Really not much excitement, right? Like what's there to get excited about? That's been hard. I would say, you touched on it there. Like
you need to be able to handle adversity. You're going to gain more from handling adversity than you do successes. Like, it's just the way it's going to be. And there's going to be disappointment, and being able to weather that storm is going to allow you to be propped up and ready for the next opportunity that does arise. So, because I mean, it's like I said, I talk to my wife, and sometimes it's like, man, like, what are we doing? Like, where is this going? Like, sometimes
seriously,
I don't think too far ahead the future, but we've had some conversations here, like me and my father-in-law and all the transition stuff in it. And, you got to think out just a touch further. And, sometimes I would just wonder, I'm like, where is this going? Where is this farming thing going? Because just the way I see trending, it's just, I don't know what that future is. And I'm sure the generation before us probably felt some of the same things. It's just, it's part of it. So, I try to keep a short-term look on things, and try to, really the biggest thing is, and this is one of the biggest football things, is just controlling what you can control, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I can't control what them finding a bunch of new crop or finding a bunch of new acres, and now we're down 30 cents on corn, and what and if everyone takes it on the chin on that one, but then it's like, okay, could I have sold more? Should I have done more and understood maybe I didn't stay true to my marketing plan. If I would have done that and sold an extra 5%, when I said I was going to do that, I wouldn't be hurting as bad right now. Those are the lessons I try to take going into the next year. Like, we're all going to take our licks. It's going to be part of it. And trying to learn from those situations. I try to be positive. I have a lot of sales conversations with guys that it's just a very negative, small talk conversation about everything. It's just, and I understand. And I try to not be that way, because, I really enjoy what we do. And I think, everyone in the farming, operations, communities, we really love what we do. Right. And we're really, and sometimes with everything going on, I think we can lose sight of that. And I've tried to not lose sight of that as much, of all the things we enjoy. And even though there's a lot of difficulties, a lot of uncertainty right now, and some tough situations in the ag world, I try to stay positive. I try, and I'm not, ask my wife, I'm very like, nope, it's over. This is done. Not going to work. And she's like, she's like, oh, it'll be okay. And that's, I'm a little bit more like that. And so I've tried to do that a little bit more, because it's tough out here. It's tough out here for young guys. It's tough out here for established guys.
Oh, for sure.
Trying to make this thing go, and just like me doing multiple, creating multiple streams of revenue to make this thing go. A lot of people, it's just, it puts a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure out there.
Well, and I don't know, there is some sort of metric or barometer for farmer sentiment, and you can't tell me it's not the most negative it's ever been. And I've been talking to farmers, my whole life, obviously, but, more so at a professional level here, let's call it 15 years, and you get those waves, and maybe those 2 good years out of 10 kind of, save you a little bit. But I think even if we had a great year, if all of a sudden, derechos hit and everything else happens, and we're looking at $6 corn somehow, I don't even know if that's enough to save, half the guys. We got 3 bad years. This is the one that's going to really hurt if we can't get a recovery.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Been talking with a lot of people. I get to have a lot of conversations selling seed, and get to meet a lot of people. And I just gather a lot of information, and can hear a lot of things. And it's really difficult out there. In 26 here could be a really, the year that maybe breaks the camel's back on a lot of things for people. I don't have the answers. I don't know what the answer is. $6 corn just makes equipment more money, or they price that more than the fertilizer. I mean, fertilizer's already up, but then they, it's just doing this. We're just trading dollars. Maybe the bake note, you can get the dollars, but it's like, where's that sweet spot, right? Like, where's that sweet spot? And I don't know if you guys saw that. I think Time Morgan posted it. That National Corn Grower Association study.
That's a big one. Yeah. About South America, primarily Brazil. And
that really opened my eyes.
I mean, they were talking about what the U.S. farmer, they got rid of the taxes, the currency exchange, everything, made it pretty simple. And what was it? 68% more. U.S. farmers spent 68% more on seed, and basically insecticides, fungicides, and herbicides were all double.
Literally double,
which is crazy. Yeah.
And then you're not even talking about property taxes. Like in Illinois, I know you've got your own problems over there. And in between us, we got Missouri. Missouri's the show me state, on both sides, basically, with Illinois and Nebraska. We're the tax me states. I think my dad, we're probably averaging $60 to $80 an acre property taxes, depending on what school district we're in, and it's just, how bad are the property taxes in your neck of the woods?
So for us in DeWitt County, they're not awful compared. We actually have like the county north of us. I mean, they're still up there. I can't remember.
Yeah. No big deal.
But they're not as bad as like, up in Cook County, McLean County, which is actually just north of us, is crazy.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's another issue too with across the entire state. I mean,
well, and then down in South America, they're running pre-def, brand new S7s.
Yeah, they're not right. They're not dealing with all the def and the stuff. And that I don't know, what did I dropped 3,500 on a def header this spring.
Oh yeah.
The tractor runs fine, but that thing's, messed up or not reading right and shuts the whole thing down. It's like, it's an expense we didn't have down. And I think that's the second one on two different tractors, but yeah, a lot of those situations are frustrating. That study, anybody involved, I would recommend looking it up and just reading through it, because it actually, I mean, we always knew, but it really opened my eyes, and it was really making me ask a lot of questions about advocacy groups that were supposed to be helping us and what's going on. And listen, I know I'm selling seed, I'm in it. I try to advocate for the farmer.
It's a little bit different, I wouldn't judge.
They do a great job of really, being there for the farmer. But they're still trying to run a business too, right? So
for sure.
I really try to advocate for us within Whiffles when I can. But yeah, that was eye opening. I'd recommend anybody take a look at it, read over it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just excited that farmers, are finally starting to awaken from their slumber, to some degree, because of reports like that. I think the Right to Repair Act was a big thing. It kind of got pushed under the rug about 5 or 6 years ago. Now that's resurfaced. Other folks in ag are starting to look around at where these checkoff dollars may be going. And I see one guy in particular, he might be kind of negative on X, but, why are we trying to settle at E15? Let's go for E30. And hey, I'm right there with you. They buried a lot of this data, but this is like from 2003, and I'll have to find the study. But they act like 22% ethanol blend was the most optimal for, miles per gallon and, all the things for the average commute guy. Let's crank it up a little bit, because there's been such great propaganda against some of our byproducts and co-products like ethanol that it's almost even hard to counter. Oh, it's going to destroy my boat. Well, who cares about the 100 gallons you might pump through in your little fishing boat every year? Use the ethanol free then, if that's your concern. But it's just, let's make everything E85 capable. Let's crank it up. But, at least we're starting as an industry, as a whole, and just in the same vein, if you're not a farmer, the way I'm going to classify you, we can still be friends, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to understand how it is growing up. When I went to college, and, I'm around a bunch of California and Arizona suburb kids, I got along with the Samoan guys better than I did the guys that might have been the same shade as me. And it's just, nobody really understands. But now, as an industry, at least, the farmers collectively are like, man, it's about to be Tractorcade 2026. We're going to drive our tractors to DC, and, maybe somebody will pay attention. And I think it's happening at a grassroots effort, where even some of the legacy media is starting to report on some of these concerns, because they're glaring. They're going off of the sweat off of our backs to, basically find a way to subsidize it for people in other countries from chemical companies that are based right here in the United States. They're doing it directly to the farmer, and farmers are tired of it, man. And on top of that, now folks are starting to wake up to this digital space where, they're using my data. Okay, I never thought about that. So now I'm clicking this and clicking that. I'll tell you, I love my field view. I love running my prescriptions through it, but I have to go back through SMS and draw boundaries and do the old manual thing for prescriptions. I don't have any problem doing that. The thing is, things have gotten so easy and user friendly. Again, we're all becoming product, or at least our data has became their main product.
Yeah.
And we haven't really realized it yet. So, with that all said, we started agprivacy.org. And what we're finding as a nonprofit, we can't get any group that can sign off on this. So there's 8 key tenets, but the moral of the story is we will not sell your user data. And we have yet to find a seed or a chemical company that can sign the pledge. Not trying to go on a big soapbox here, but I'll share it with you. We'll see if your guys maybe can, but there's very few groups or even national associations that can even sign the pledge, which is interesting when, they're basically getting our checkoff dollars and they can't even sign a pledge about not selling their user data. So it's interesting, but it's the right time. Farmers are starting to wake up to it. And, I know we don't know a lot about, what we each have going on, but at Tractor Tuesday, that's kind of the moral of our story is we just want to give farmers the tools to do more on their own. There's nothing against the auctioneers. They all do. The majority of them that I know, they do a great job. They got a heck of a service. But man, you got an 8R, it's a couple years old. You don't think you can just sell it yourself?
Yeah.
Seriously. And that's what we're finding. These higher end units, they just sell themselves. So let's go to Tractor Tuesday, sell it yourself. There's no commission. It's an easy way to do it. And we don't sell user data. So I just wanted to inject that real quick because it's important to us as farmers. Now we're waking up to the great fleecing, and it's our wool they've been fleecing the whole time. So I don't know, but I guess what's your next step for the rest of the summer? Crops are all looking good. Everything's kind of on the up and up in your parts.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain move through here. We had a really wet June.
Okay.
So we got about 20 minutes east of us here, small town Weldon. We're gonna have drowned out spots. We're gonna have some zeros out there in some of the lower laying grounds. There's pretty much water sat out there most of June. So the rest of it's in okay shape here, where we're at locally and just north of us, looking okay. I started scouting some corn last week for fungicide applications and when to pull the trigger. And like surprisingly, with all the rain, we've been warm and cool, and the disease pressure was actually really low. I'm anticipating it's going to fire up because we're primed for it. Yeah. But stuff's looking solid. The beans have looked pretty much the beans have looked a little tough all year, but until the combine rolls, they can trick you. So they've looked a little bit tougher this year. I think we had thinner stands with some of the weather we had with early April beans, and then a pretty big system moved through that last week of April. Came up with some thinner stands, but I would say I'd call it wet through here for the most part. I drove down to Kentucky, family vacation at Lake Cumberland. So we leave here and go to Indianapolis and then down to Cincinnati. And between here in Decatur and then over to Indianapolis and kind of south, kind of seemed like the same case. It was pretty wet throughout that whole area. So we're sitting all right. We'll see. We're not terrible, but we haven't, past couple of years, summers have actually been just super dry. So so getting fungicides in order, starting to pull some lime, be ready to prep for harvest here. No time, it seems like.
Well, and that's what I was shocked about last year. I went down to St. Joe, Missouri, then straight east, make it to Farm Progress in Illinois, and I thought it was a drought. I'd never seen southern rust so bad in my life. I had no idea. But then you'd magically see 180 wedged in between a couple quarters. It was just vibrant green, probably had 2 doses of fungicide, and then I started to figure out when the beans looked good and the corn was yellow, what was happening. And that crept into our neck of the woods pretty hard last year. I guess thankfully we got an awesome co-op, Fairfield Cooperative. They were getting me on 2 doses of fungicide now for a couple of seasons. Might have saved us. But and this about the farmer sentiment, about 3 weeks ago now, right in my area, my field, this one quarter was right on the start of it, got completely hailed out. And, you hate to see those types of things, but then you look at the price in Chicago, then you look at the insurable price, and then you're mad at yourself that you didn't get everything hailed out, And so most of my neighbors have already tore it up and they've already replanted, maybe switched to Milo or more beans or whatever they're doing, but again, that's just how negative it is. Sometimes you just want the disaster. It's your best marketing strategy, I guess.
Yeah, that would be getting that happened to us 2 years ago. We had beans down to the stem. They got absolutely wrecked. And it was kind of just this like 1 mile by 1 mile area because we had fields just west of it that were fine. But it was, I forgot what the date was. It was still early enough. Tailed off. They insurance says, rip it out. We replant. We make like 40 bushel on those beans along with that. It's like, well, I wish that would have been everything, but
seriously.
But I know some people that we had some hail out along the interstate corridor there to Decatur. We had a lot of tornadoes. We've had a ton of tornadoes through here too. The hail
east.
Yeah, the hail was really bad. Got some guys down there, but it's probably the same boat. They were still early enough. They're going to pull it out, replant, that they'll be okay. So thank God for crop insurance, because if you didn't have that and that happened right now with what we got going on, talk about, that'll put you under. You'll be done.
You'll be broke. Yeah, there's no coming back. But as kind of the state of agriculture, if that's your best marketing, is what you get damaged by Mother Nature, and that's the boat we're all in. But thankfully, a lot of us, you and myself included here, half my team that's, from a farm background, one of our smartest guys quit farming 2 years ago, and he's like 45 years old. He let his brother take over. It's not as fun as it used to be, but I do know, just like everything else that you've been a part of, things I've been a part of, when you're really going through it and you don't think it can get much more painful and you're about ready to quit, you might get that breakthrough, and you never know. We might be 10 business days away from a rally that makes everything worth it, and I think that's what the equipment dealers almost need. We went from this glut of Class 8 combines to now we're at a glut of 280s all the way to 370s. There's so many 8Rs on the market right now that are used. What's going to clear the slate? Man, we need some serious profits in ag. First thing I'm going to do is buy a new truck. I know that much.
Yeah. No, we got our wish list. I got some things. We've had some bad dust storms around here. We really keep looking at our tillage platforms and what we're doing. And, I'd love to move. I'd love to start trying some strip till, and I'm looking for a certain bar, shanks and fresheners, and but the same thing, that stuff costs money, and it's just like, it's not as easy. People want conservation and reduced, and if I could hop into putting cover crops on it without paying app fees and a bunch of stuff, and then changing out my tillage, if I could do all that without being upside down, I would. But
for sure.
So it's been stuff's priced crazy. Trying to make moves or upgrade right now has been, you got to sharpen that pencil a little bit.
So are you guys still pretty much 100% conventional then, or what would you say?
We've moved, I would call it more of a reduced till. We ran a disc ripper a little bit last year on some stocks that got lime, and just a couple of farms that really need it, kind of mucky bottom. But we use vertical tillage machines, which I would call true vertical tillage. We're only running 0 to 3 degrees on the machines. I got a Kraus accelerator, and then I got the Deere, what is that, 2260 or something, VT machine. So that gang angle, you can actually go all the way to 12, I think, but we stay in that 0 to 3 degree gang angle range to give us kind of that true vertical tillage look. But even then, I think some of it had to do with the dry falls we had 2 years in a row, and then the dry summer. So even when we VT'd ground last year, it was working up like powder. So we've had just this 2 years of powder, and then we came in and VT'd stuff, and this year, and then we got some windstorms and dried out. I think that's what it was, a accumulation of a couple of dry years, knocking it down, getting a little pulverized, not having much life to it, and it was up and moving. There was ditches that was filled like snowdrifts with dirt. Like, it was not a good look. It was really hard to watch.
and not a great look for us. Not a great feeling when you just spent what you did on fertilizer for 26.
Yeah.
And so we're really looking at seeing what we can do, revamp what helps us. And I think there's actually been more conversations of that around
Okay.
here. We've dabbled in cover crops a little bit, and I do some nutrient management programs, and so we're looking, but like I said, a lot of that stuff costs, it's not, you don't just throw cover crops out for free. Like,
No, it's a lot of seed, and there's a lot to
and
it.
there's you don't get money back from that, right? Like you can measure that maybe in a way of organic matter. Around here, you're not going to see that because of where we farm. But, maybe a weed suppression, but it's not like you put this cover crop out, harvest it, and then take it to market like we do this other stuff. Like you're spending, whatever you're spending, and you're not getting that money back. So it's a hard thing to pull the trigger on for a young guy like me. Most people in the tight, how tight ag is right now, to move fully into something like that. So,
well, and a lot of guys in my neck of the woods that don't run, cows, for example, we've honestly been burned a lot by cover crops because our weather pattern has been extreme drought until you get to about May, and then it won't stop raining, and then you got that rye down, and then you terminate it, then you try to plant. I mean, with Delta Force or hydraulic down, you're just busting bearings on your openers. The ground gets too hard when you don't get any moisture. So it's an interesting deal. All we do is we just run a mulch finisher right in front of the planter. That's literally our one trip is that. But, you see a lot of the guys that are pushing the higher yields, they're the majority, if not all of them, are strip till in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, getting that, we've seen a lot, just getting that dirt turn and getting that fresh black dirt, that temperature difference it's more than you'd ever imagine. I know Ken Fair, and they do a lot of studies and have thermometers and emergence trials and all that stuff. And as soon as you turn that stuff and get it black and the sun on it, I mean, your emergence percentage goes way high. So, visiting the strip till thing, trying to figure out how to stay in front of two planters with that too, plus someone that really you need your planter guy doing the strip till. But now with some of this technology from Deere with auto path boundary or whatever the heck it is, I'm visiting that to maybe upgrade to that subscription too. But so we could put somebody else in there. Yeah, I mean, just another subscription, but
and it never ends. You ever thought about just being rich? Because it's
that would be what's that say? If you want to make $1 million, start farming with 3 or something like that.
Yeah, that's about it. That's all you need. You just needed a couple extra million, and you could have all this stuff. And you could do it the right way. You could keep everybody happy with you. But there's no right way to do it. The only right way, I guess, is just not to fail.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no certain way for everyone to do thing or some certain right way. I think you visit what works for you and what you think's best and attack it that way.
I drive by this one guy in particular who's kind of a neighbor ding near open station. I think he's got 6-row equipment, and it's just, and he's farming, man, and he's doing it. His crop looks phenomenal too, by the way. So don't even know the guy's name, but I don't want to look up his field, but you can see the real farmers are, at least in the 90s, how crooked their rows were. But technology's made us all just look a little bit better. But
it has.
Part of the game. Well, Cody, I don't want to hold you up too much, man. I know you got a lot going on today, and you got a big travel day tomorrow. So I want to get you back, with the family and all that. But as far as social media, do you want to tell the audience where they might be able to find you and get some updates from you?
I'm on Instagram. That would just be Cody White 56. And then actually on Twitter, I'm not too active. I kind of stay up to date, voice my opinion here and there on Twitter, but that would be Hankit56.
Okay. All right. I'll have somebody write that down for me. I don't really do the social media thing. Once my mom got on Facebook, I kind of disappeared and do a little bit on the Twitter, but I'm afraid to even say anything because
it can be, you can you can take a bath and some of that stuff, but
that's what's exciting about the live stream,
I guess.
No, it kind of keeps you current with markets or just more of the bubble of ag Twitter. You can get a little bit of that insight and some other things there, but that's why I like going live. Is feels like a game to me because I know in one messed up sentence, I can ruin my entire career.
Yeah.
Right here on the live stream. So everything me and my team have built and worked for, I can just completely sabotage it.
Yeah.
And I need that type of pressure because I'm sure, some people can thrive off of those types of experiences, and it's not exciting unless I can't blow it all up. And my dad and me just got a new Batwing mower finally, first time ever. And, we're just trying not to destroy something that's brand new. So you need the pressure every now and again, Cody. But well, hey, for everybody out there that's been paying attention, we got some other questions. I'm not going to read them. Apparently we got some fans here. Maybe it's your mom. I don't know. But, people are saying a few things. But come check us out at TractorTuesday.com. Again, 0 commission. Yeah, on the auctions, we do a 5% buyer's premium, but we cap it. $7,500 cap fee. You can literally sell it yourself. Also, our retail marketplace is 100% free. There's no fees anywhere. Upload your inventory to Tractor Tuesday first, then let it export it to Facebook for you. Manage your entire inventory line right at Tractor Tuesday. It's 100% free. And for our dealer friends, dealer partners, check out our new parent company, if you will, TractorHQ.com. Who cares about my social? I'm just lurking. I'm that Twitter lurker that's not really saying anything. So don't worry about mine, but go check out Cody's. He'll be an awesome follow for you. And Cody, check back in, man. We've got a few trips. We've got to go to Illinois. I think it's called the Dealer Management Summit sometime in August. I got to be out there. If you ever make it a little bit farther than Iowa, make sure to check in before you cross the Missouri River. Make sure you're all dialed in and set to go. But hey, for Cody White, I'm Zach Bosley, TractorTuesday.com, and we'll catch you on the next Tuesday.
Till the soil